Now, it's a concept dating back thousands of years. Zoos have long given us the chance to see wild animals up close. However, is that as good for the animals as it is for us? Because concerns around animal welfare have raised difficult questions about the future of zoos.
Well, we've done a poll here. It's a new GMB poll, and it's found that 65% of UK adults do not believe that zoos should be phased out or banned. In fact, almost 80% of you saw zoos playing a vital role in conserving endangered species.
So, is it time to celebrate zoos? Well, Andy Hall from the British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquariums says we should be proud of zoos, we should celebrate them, while Mark Cowne from Free the Wild strongly believes no animal should be in captivity. Get rid of the zoos, you say, Mark?
I do say get rid of the zoos, but fair due to Andy, because the zoos in the UK are some of the better ones in the world. We've got 5% of the world's zoos in the UK, which is a huge number. And because of organisations like Andy's, our zoos are actually really quite well policed and maintained. And we share views on things like aquariums, where we also, Andy and I, don't believe that it's nice to have whales and dolphins doing tricks. Where we have a problem with zoos, the whole intention of our organisation, Free the Wild, is to try and rescue animals who are being brutalised or abused in zoos for the benefit of human entertainment.
Well, give us an example of what you mean. What do you mean brutalised?
OK, you've got an elephant in Edmonton in Canada, Lucy. Lucy has got immense breathing problems. She's on her last legs because for many, many, many years, they've been using her to create elephant pictures, where she sucks up a large amount of paint into her trunk and blasts it onto a canvas. And look, we've got a wonderful elephant painting. But it's her respiratory system. Imagine sticking 2 litres of acrylic up your nose in the morning.
It's a cheap circus trick, isn't it?
A very cheap circus trick.
So that sort of thing, I would think it would be hard, as soon as people were aware of the problems it caused, for anybody to say, oh, no, I'd still want that picture if it's going to cause the animals harm. But is there a principle that you hold where an animal in captivity is always going to be suffering? It's just not right. Because explain that.
Look, animals aren't supposed to be in captivity. They're wild animals. They're supposed to be running free. Unfortunately, we've taken away an awful lot of the areas which they live in. Zoos do some good work in trying to preserve endangered species, and they do have breeding programs for things like pandas, but they're never going to be returned to the wild. They're only actually able to be distributed to other zoos. So it sort of propagates more zoos. And the downside of that is also a lot of animals which are breeding in zoos are having to be euthanized because there's an overpopulation. 3,000 to 5,000 animals every year are euthanized in European zoos because there's nowhere to put all those animals.
Andy, what do you think?
Well, I think...
about that point,
Mark's right on a lot of points there. You know, modern zoos are sanctuaries for animals, they're havens for animals, but they do one better than sanctuaries. They're places for conservation. There have been 95 species that have been completely extinct in the wild. That's 95 species that just would not exist without zoos and aquariums being there.
Do you take the point, though, that if the animals are, as Mark says, meant to be free and wild, all you're doing is breeding animals to go to more zoos? Is there ever a future for zoos as that, or could you ever see animals being released back into the wild?
Well, releasing animals is just a small part of the conservation work that zoos do, but it is being done. If you look at, in this country alone, British zoos are restoring 76 species, British species, back into our landscapes. You think of all
Give us an example.
A lot of the recent conservation examples, beavers in London, they come from Five Sisters Zoo. Bison in Kent come from 3 different zoos in this country. You've got grass lizards down in Marwell. You've got Scottish wildcats. They come from Highland Wildlife Park. So species are going back, but that's not the point of zoos. The point is to commit a lot to conservation. We do 800 conservation projects across 105 different countries. And we can only do that because of the animals that we care for.
What about the behaviour you sometimes see, very briefly, in zoos? You see animals behaving in a very strange way. They're clearly, if you like, psychologically disturbed by being in captivity. You just see repetitive behaviour, walking in figures of 8 endlessly. What do you say? Just in a sentence.
Yeah, well, I think modern good zoos have to have animal welfare at their heart, and I think Mark's right on that as well. And I think increasingly studies are showing that animals such as elephants can have the full range of their natural behaviours when they're kept really well in our zoos.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you as well.